What I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about America's future. And I need you to listen carefully, because most people won't hear this until it's too late. There's a pattern hidden in history. A pattern so precise, so mathematical, that it has destroyed every single global superpower that has ever existed. And this pattern doesn't care about military strength, technological advancement, or how powerful you think you are. Spain ignored it. They collapsed. Britain ignored it. They collapsed. The Soviet Union ignored it. They collapsed in 900 days. And right now, in 2025, America is on stage 5 of 7, the final 2 stages. They happen so fast that by the time most people realize what's happening, it's already over. I know what you're thinking. America is different. We're too powerful, we have nukes, we have technology. This can't happen to us. That's exactly what Spain said when they controlled half the world's gold. That's exactly what Britain said when the sun never set on their empire. That's exactly what the Soviet Union said when they had 40,000 nuclear warheads. They were all wrong, and we're about to find out if we're wrong too. This isn't politics. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is cold, hard mathematics backed by 500 years of history. So focus. Because what you're about to learn might be the most important information you hear all year. The anatomy of collapse. Imperial collapse doesn't start with invasion. It starts with economic exhaustion. An empire extends beyond its ability to maintain itself. Military bases in 150 countries. Wars on multiple fronts. Promises it cannot keep. Debts it cannot repay. At first, the decline is invisible. The currency works. The military wins battles. Life continues normally, but beneath the surface, the foundation cracks. Resources flow to the wrong places: military instead of infrastructure, debt payments instead of innovation, imports instead of production. The best minds leave, then comes acceleration. Allies hedge their baits, enemies test boundaries. Trade partners seek alternatives. The reserve currency erodes. Suddenly, everything that made you powerful becomes your greatest vulnerability. Your global currency floods back home, causing hyperinflation. Your worldwide military becomes unsustainable. Your promises become empty words. This happened to Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union because they made the exact same decisions we're making now. Let me show you the 7-stage pattern that destroyed them all. Spain, the original blueprint. 1492. Columbus lands in the Americas. Spain discovers infinite wealth. Within decades, they topple the Aztec and Inca empires and seize the richest gold and silver mines in history. By 1550, Spanish galleons haul 200 tons of silver annually. By 1600, over 400 tons. Spain controls more wealth than all Europe combined. The Spanish real becomes the world's first global reserve currency. King Philip II has more money than any monarch in history. He believes it makes Spain invincible forever. He's catastrophically wrong. Stage 1. Military overextension. Philip fights unlimited wars simultaneously on 4 continents. Against the Ottoman Empire, against France, against Protestant rebels in the Netherlands for 80 years, against England's navy, wars in the Philippines and Americas. By 1590, over 50% of Spain's revenue goes to the military. Half of everything. Soldiers go unpaid. Equipment deteriorates. Spain bleeds wealth at an unsustainable rate. Stage 2. Currency debasement. Spain has unlimited silver, but still can't pay bills. So they cheat. They mix copper into silver coins. The coins look the same, but real silver content drops to 25% by 1600. Merchants across Europe refuse Spanish coins or accept them at massive discounts. Inflation explodes. Prices quadruple in more than 40 years. The money representing real wealth becomes worthless promises. Stage 3. The debt spiral. Spain borrows from German and Italian bankers. Then come the bankruptcies. 1557, 1560, 1575, 1596, for bankruptcies in more than 40 years. Each time they promise reforms, each time they return to borrowing and spending. New loans pay interest on old loans. The spiral becomes inescapable. Stage 4. Loss of productive capacity with unlimited money. Spain stops producing anything. Why manufacture when you can buy everything? By 1600, Spain produces nothing. They import food, clothes, weapons, tools, everything. Wealth flows through Spain, but none stays. Dutch and English merchants get rich. Spanish merchants become middlemen when the silver mines deplete in the 1600s. Spain has nothing left. No industry, no manufacturing base, no skilled workforce. Stage 5. Social decay. By 1630, crime explodes. Beggars fill Madrid. The middle class crumbles. Productive citizens emigrate to Amsterdam and London. The best minds flee. Political dysfunction paralyzes government. The population shrinks. Farms are abandoned. Stage 6. Loss of great power status. By 1650, the Netherlands, once Spanish territory, becomes independent and richer. Portugal breaks away in 1640. France surpasses Spain. England's navy dominates. The Spanish real is no longer accepted as reserve currency. Stage 7. Permanent collapse. By 1700, Spain ceases being a major power. The War of Spanish Succession is fought by others deciding Spain's future. They never recovered, from global superpower to third-rate power in 100 years. They never regained that status. Britain, when the sun set 1900, the British Empire is the largest in history. They control 25% of the world's land and 400 million subjects. The pound sterling, the undisputed global reserve currency. Britain looks unstoppable. Stage 1. Military overextension. Britain is massively overextended with troops in India, Australia, Egypt, Caribbean, Africa, quarter of the globe. World War I accelerates everything. 1914 to 1918, the most expensive war in history. They borrow massively from the United States. By 1918, Britain owes more than ever before. America becomes the world's banker. Stage 2. Currency debasement. After the war, Britain tries restoring the pound to pre-war gold value. This overvalues it by 10%, destroying British exports overnight. Industries, textiles, steel, coal collapse. Unemployment explodes. In 1931, Britain abandons the gold standard. The pound collapses. Stage 3. Debt spiral. World War II brings more catastrophic borrowing. By 1945, British debt exceeds 200% of GDP, twice their entire economy. Interest payments consume the budget. They're borrowing to pay interest on previous loans. The exact same spiral that destroyed Spain. Stage 4. Loss of productive capacity. By 1945, Britain is economically exhausted. Manufacturing is devastated. Infrastructure bombed. They can't compete with American production. Rationing continues until 1954, 9 years after the war, a superpower that can't feed itself. Stage 5. Social decay. Housing shortages, food scarcity, economic stagnation. The population is exhausted from 2 world wars. Political consensus collapses. Brain drain accelerates. Best minds emigrate to America, Canada, Australia. Stage 6. Loss of reserve currency status. The pound had been the world's reserve currency for over a century. After 1945, that status rapidly erodes. The dollar becomes supreme. Countries dump pound reserves. 1949, massive devaluation. 1967, another devaluation. 1976, Britain requires a humiliating IMF bailout. The pound loses 90% of its value. Stage 7. Empire collapse. 1947. India declares independence. Over 20 years, the entire empire dissolves. Burma, Palestine, Malaysia, Kenya, Nigeria all gone. Britain keeps symbols of power, UN seat. nuclear weapons, but everyone knows the truth. From ruling the world to middle-tier power in 4 than 40 years. The Soviet Union, 900 days to collapse. 1985. The Soviet Union looks permanent. 40,000 nuclear warheads. The world's largest military, global influence from Cuba to Vietnam. Intelligence agencies predict decades of existence. Nobody sees collapse coming. Stage 1. Military overextension. The Soviets spend 15 to 20% of GDP on military, quadrupled the U.S. percentage, fighting in Afghanistan, supporting communist regimes worldwide, maintaining massive forces in Eastern Europe. The commitments are unsustainable. Stage 2. Fake currency. The ruble is worthless internationally, not convertible. Soviet citizens use U.S. dollars on the black market. The entire economy runs on fake money, fake statistics, fake promises. Stage 3. Economic stagnation by 1985. Zero real growth for a decade. They borrow from the West to import grain because their farms can't feed the population. The economy is completely broken. Stage 4. Nitrogen monoxide productive capacity. Factories produce goods nobody wants. Quality is abysmal. Innovation is non-existent. Their technology is 15 years behind the West. Consumer goods are inferior in every way. 70 years building an economy that can't compete. Stage 5. Social collapse. Alcohol rates stagger. Life expectancy declines. Nobody believes communist ideology. Chernobyl in 1986 exposes the system's incompetence and lies. Nationalist movements stir everywhere. Stage 6. Loss of superpower status. Oil prices collapse in the 1980s. The Soviet Union depends on oil exports. When prices crash, they run out of real money. 1989. Eastern Europe breaks away. Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, East Germany independent in months. The Soviets can't stop it. No resources. Demoralized military. Collapsing economy. Stage 7. Total collapse. 1991. Attempted coup fails. Boris Yeltsin stands on a tank. Within weeks, the Soviet Union ceases to exist, not from military defeat, from economic implosion. 900 days from superpower to history. 15 new nations emerge. The Cold War ends with economic collapse. America, following the exact same script. Now we come to the part that should terrify you. Stage 1. Military overextension. Complete. The United States maintains over 750 military bases in 80-plus countries. Security commitments to NATO's 31 members. Japan, South Korea, Israel, Taiwan unofficially. Operations in Syria, Iraq, Somalia, Yemen, Niger, Ukraine. Cost, over $800 billion officially. Real number including veterans benefits, nuclear weapons. Intelligence exceeds $1.5 trillion annually. The military is stretched dangerously thin. Army missed recruitment by 25% in 2023. Navy can't cruise ships. Air Force faces pilot shortages. Equipment aging. B-5 bombers from the 1960s still flying. Pentagon war games show we cannot fight two major conflicts simultaneously. If China moves on Taiwan while supporting Ukraine, we don't have resources. Stage 2. Currency debasement. Complete. August 1971. Nixon ends dollar convertibility to gold. The world's reserve currency backed by nothing except trust. 2008. Federal Reserve creates $4 trillion through quantitative easing. 2020. Another $5 trillion created. 40% of all dollars printed in 24 months. Empty money supply increased from $1 trillion in 1971 to over $21 trillion today, a 2,000% increase. What this means for you. Average home in 1971 cost $25,000. The dollar lost 98% of its purchasing power since 1971. This is currency debasement, exactly what Spain did, mixing copper into silver. Stage 3. Debt spiral complete. Current national debt, $36 trillion. That's 120% of GDP. But here's what's terrifying. Interest payments. In 2024, over $1 trillion in interest alone. More than defense, more than Medicare, we're borrowing money to pay interest on previous borrowing. That's the definition of debt death spiral. Every percentage point in interest rates adds $360 billion to annual costs. If rates hit 7%, historically normal interest payments exceed the $0.5 trillion per year. Impossible to sustain. Congressional Budget Office projects debt reaching 200% of GDP by 2050, but we might not make it that far. Japan has 260% debt, but hasn't collapsed because they owe money to Japanese citizens in yen. We owe money to the world in dollars. We cannot print forever without destroying reserve currency status. Stage 4. Loss of productive capacity. Complete 1950. America produced 50% of world's manufactured goods. Today, less than 18%. We import nearly everything. 90% of antibiotics from China. 80% of rare earth minerals from China. 70% of smartphones from Asia. Most steel, electronics, consumer goods all imported. Even military equipment depends on foreign supply chains. The F-35 fighter jet contains components from 9 countries. If relations deteriorate, we can't build our own weapons. COVID proved this. Couldn't produce masks, ventilators, basic medical supplies, a superpower unable to make masks. Manufacturing employed 30% of Americans in 1950. Today, under 9%. Those jobs paid middle-class wages. They're gone, replaced by service jobs at half the wages. We've become a consumption economy producing nothing. We buy everything with borrowed money and printed dollars. Spain did the same thing. When money stopped, they had nothing. Stage 5. Social decay complete. Look around. Do you see a healthy society? Political dysfunction? Congress barely passes budgets. Shutdowns are routine. Can't maintain infrastructure. China builds 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail while we can't build 100. Trust in institutions at historic lows. Government, media, corporations, academia all collapsing. Society can't function without basic trust. Drug overdoses, over 100,000 Americans yearly. More than car accidents. Fentanyl is the leading cause of death for ages 18 to 45. Homelessness, 650,000 plus homeless. 10 cities in every major California city. Crime rising in major cities. Stores closing. Companies abandoning downtown areas. Fertility collapse. 1.6 children per woman below 2.1 replacement rate. Without immigration, population shrinks. A society that stops having children has given up on the future. Life expectancy declining. First time in American history, declined 3 years before COVID. A rich nation where people die younger. Infrastructure. American Society of Civil Engineers gives U.S. infrastructure C-. Bridges collapse. Water systems fail. Roads crumble. Education. American students rank 38th in math. 24th in science globally, producing fewer engineers while China graduates 5 million annually. These aren't random problems. This is systematic social decay. Stage 5 of imperial collapse. Stage 6. Loss of reserve currency status in progress. This is the big one. This transforms decline into collapse. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. International trade in dollars. Countries hold dollar reserves. Oil priced in dollars. This gives America extraordinary privilege. We print money and the world absorbs inflation. But that's ending, right now. BRICS nations creating alternative payment systems. Saudi Arabia accepting yuan for oil for 50 years. Oil was only sold in dollars. China and Russia trade in own currencies. Central banks buying gold at fastest pace in 50 years, preparing for a world where dollars are automatically accepted. Global reserves held in dollars dropped from 73% in 2001 to 58% today. The trend accelerates. When America loses reserve currency status, not if, when something catastrophic happens. All those trillions of dollars foreigners hold come flooding back home. That's not stimulus, that's hyperinflation. Prices explode. Germany 1923, Zimbabwe 2008, Venezuela today. Your savings become worthless. Not slowly, fast. Stage 7. The collapse future, but close collapse doesn't happen slowly. Spain declined for decades, but final collapse took 10 years. Britain declined for decades, but empire fell in 20 years. Soviet Union looked permanent until it vanished in 900 days. Collapse is slow, then sudden. The trigger could be anything: failed bond auction, military defeat, currency panic, geopolitical shock. The currency crisis: investors panic, dump dollar assets. Fed faces impossible choice: let dollar collapse or raise rates to 15%. Either choice is catastrophic. The debt crisis: with currency collapsing, nobody buys U.S. bonds, government can't borrow. Tax revenue collapses, spending cuts of 40% plus necessary overnight. Social Security stops, Medicare ends, military can't be funded. The political crisis: government that can't pay obligations loses legitimacy. States ignore federal authority. Separatist movements emerge. Capital flight accelerates. This happened to the Soviet Union in 1991. Moscow couldn't pay regions. Regions stopped listening. Within months, 15 nations emerged from one superpower. Timeline: not decades. Maybe 5 years. Maybe 3. Maybe less. Why we think we're different: every empire says we're different. More advanced, better technology, more powerful. Old rules don't apply. Spain thought unlimited silver made them invincible. Wrong. Britain thought the largest empire and strongest navy made them permanent. Wrong. Soviet Union thought nuclear weapons and different economics made them unbeatable. Wrong. America believes we're different because of our economy, military, Silicon Valley, dollar, nukes, alliances. But economic laws don't care about technology. Mathematics doesn't care about military power. History doesn't care how special you think you are. You cannot indefinitely spend more than you produce, borrow more than you can repay, print money without destroying value, extend military beyond means, or ignore mathematical reality. Every empire thought they were the exception. Not one was. The pattern is mathematical. Once you enter debt spiral, lose productive capacity, experience social decay, the outcome is predetermined. The only variable is timing, the truth nobody wants to hear. I'm not saying America collapses next week or next year. I can't predict exact timing. I am saying America follows the exact same pattern that destroyed 3 superpowers. We're on stage 5 of 7. Stage 6 is in progress. Stage 7 comes fast. The math doesn't lie. History doesn't lie. The pattern is clear. Spain had galleons. Britain had steamships. Soviet Union had nukes. Technology doesn't change economic reality. This isn't political, not left versus right. Both parties drove debt higher, printed money, expanded military, refused hard choices. Economic collapse is an equal opportunity destroyer. So, what do? First, understand it. Know what's happening. Most will be blindsided. You don't have to be. Second, prepare. Learn real skills. Build community. Reduce dependency on complex systems. Get out of personal debt. Diversify assets. Third, spread the word. More people aware, more likely reform becomes possible. Fourth, face reality. Stop pretending everything's fine. Stop believing things will work out. The pattern repeated 3 times. We're following it step by step. 3 empires fell following this pattern. Spain, 80 years. Britain, 40 years. Soviet Union, 900 days. All thought they were different. All thought the pattern didn't apply. All thought they had more time. All were wrong. America is on stage 5 of 7. Stage 6 is in progress. Stage 7 happens fast. The mathematics says collapse is coming. History says collapse is coming. The pattern says collapse is coming. Unless something changes fast, will it? Look around. Are we making necessary changes? Or doubling down on every mistake? More spending, more printing, more wars, more debt, more delusion. The pattern doesn't care about hope. It only cares about mathematics, and the math is screaming a warning nobody wants to hear. If this opened your eyes, subscribe. When stages 6 and 7 accelerate, you'll want to understand what's happening and why. Leave a comment. Do you think America can avoid this pattern? Or are we destined to be the fourth empire? The answers aren't in the future. They're written in history, in Spain's bankruptcies, in Britain's debt crisis, in Soviet collapse. The pattern is clear. For anyone willing to see it. 3 empires ignored it. 3 empires collapsed. Will America be the fourth? The math says yes. History says yes. The pattern says yes. Unless we wake up fast, that's the truth nobody wants to hear. But it's the truth nonetheless. Thanks for watching. And remember, the best time to prepare for collapse is before everyone else realizes it's happening. See you in the next video, if there is a next video.